other horror projects have I worked on? Hi, I'm Kira, and 40 days ago I started creating a horror film. I know nothing about filmmaking whatsoever. Everything I do know is either self-taught or you guys have been teaching me some very lovely tips along the way. As you can imagine, as someone who's never made a film before, let alone a horror film, this is not gonna be an easy task for me. But that isn't to say I haven't worked in horror before. No. I have experience. The first horror-based project I worked on was actually a haunted house. Someone who used to live in my neighborhood used to organize all of these haunted houses every single Halloween, and he always did this to raise money for charity. And this one year, he decided not to do it at his house, but instead he rented out this whole space. He built all of the scaffolding from scratch, and I was approached to be one of his actors. I played this possessed, ragged Harlequin jester doll, and I absolutely loved her. I actually still have the costume right here. As you can see, she came with all of these different kinds of tights, gloves, there was a fake corset. I did teach myself special effects just for this. It was as good as it could have been for a 15-year-old still grasping what the concept of art is. My next notable horror project was Sweeney Todd, the Demon Barber of Fleet Street. This was the first musical I auditioned for once I reached a certain age at the musical theater school I went to, and although I got a call back for Mrs. Lovett, I ended up getting cast instead as ensemble. But they liked me enough to feature me as Lucy in the Poor Thing sequence. That was something. And I'll make a very quick side note from now, but there actually was a musical production of Sweeney Todd done at the Monumental Theatre quite recently. I think it was 3 years ago? 2022. Yes, the Mats did Autism Rights, hooray. Now, many would consider their production to be the first one ever done in Malta, but our school edition took place in 2017. So we were actually the first ever actors who performed in Sweeney Todd in Malta in all of history. So yeah, we kind of beat you guys by 5 years. Sorry. Now, for my next horror project. My dissertation project! It was the first ever project I made completely by myself, and I mean everything by myself. I wrote it, directed it, produced it, I casted it. The words will word eventually. I designed the lighting, costumes, set pieces, I did the soundscapes, I did everything in this project except for acting it. Because I needed some time to breathe and to actually write out my dissertation. I was fortunate enough to have invited some people from the industry to come watch the show, and I was so humbled by all of the positive feedback they gave. It kind of makes me want to produce it again. And finally, my most recent horror project was 1881. This immersive game-style show was produced by Teatro Malta, our national theatre company, and I was so fortunate to have been part of the cast. This was a roller coaster of a show in the best way possible. Now, although it isn't technically a horror show, the immersion itself is what gives everyone that sense of dread and anguish and anxiety, which I just love manifesting. The entire concept of 1881 bases around this plague which is killing off a lot of people, and as such, the most wealthy people in the neighborhood have decided to throw this masquerade ball, eyes wide shut sort of way. In order for the audience members to participate, they were required to wear a mask and a robe, this mask in particular, and then they'd need to maintain their anonymity in order for them to interact with all of the actors during the show. Some of us at least did get to alternate different characters every night depending on the day of the week. For instance, my 3 characters were the Ticketmaster, the Doorkeeper, and my 3rd character, the Plant. No, I wasn't a living vegetable. I was actually planted into the audience, pretending to be an audience member, so that the actors could specifically pick on me to discomfort everyone around us, so they can question to what extent this immersion is going to affect everyone. And I got to do that for 2 nights a week for 3 months, and I did such a good job. I tormented so many people, and it was also a very lovely experience, and everyone involved was really nice, and I'm really grateful. And there we go. Those are my most recent horror projects I've done in the past, and maybe I have more to come in the future. I really hope that's the case. I'm manifesting as much as my witchy self can. But in the meantime, I have now finally asked myself,